All right, mic check, I'm good. So I'm Max Ceron, CWB Association Welding Podcast. Today we have a really cool guest, Welding Podcast.
The show is about to begin.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the CWB Association Podcast. My name is Max Ceron, and as always, working hard to find the coolest, funnest, most interesting guests to have on the show from across Canada and around the world. This last week, I had a wonderful opportunity to be at ABB Robotics Canada in Ontario and do a couple presentations, and I met some wonderful people, including Jennifer Almeida. Jennifer, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Max. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm still on the road. I'm at the local 736 shop, the Ironworkers in Hamilton today, and we're doing this in a classroom, so work never stops. But you're the business unit manager at ABB Robotics Canada, and we had some great conversations there during a robotics week.
Yeah, we did. This was the first one that we've done in 6 to 8 years, from my understanding. So it had such a great turnout. And you know what? The fact that it was wrapped around welding specific got some really great people, including yourself.
Awesome. So let's thank you. Let's just break that piece down a little bit, because I find it interesting, before we get into the bones of your life. But yeah. What was ABB Robotics Week? Why did you guys have it? Why did you feel the need after 6 to 8 years to revive this? What's the purpose?
ABB, again, like in robotics, is a pioneer, right? So we have a great marketing brand, ABB, and we have all the divisions that are underneath it. But to be honest, the coolest one is robotics, right? So, and robotics is so hands-on, it's so personable. And we have such a great install base. We have so many new products that are launched on a yearly basis that a lot of those products, you need to showcase them. You need hands-on, And again, we have a lot of partnerships, right? Like yourselves. And then, we had Lincoln Electric, we had Miller, we had Fronius there. And being able to have us all collaborate, have our clients, not just customers, but clients, once they get with one ABB robot, they buy again and again and again. And a lot of the people that have come, we've known them, or we've known, their dad, their uncles, their cousins, right? So because it's not just big companies, you have small shops too. So those relationships are so personable. So when we redid the demo area where you can see and where you were, it created an atmosphere for people to come together. And we felt this is something that we need to share with everybody. So we created this event because we needed people from the outside, and we needed loyal clients to come in and feel it for the first time. We wanted everyone else to experience the demo area, not just like for ourselves. So it was a launch for ABB Canada and a launch with our customers at the same time.
And one of the things you said, and it's actually, I've even had conversations since then, is that someone was talking to me and said, also like CWB is getting in with ABB. It's like, well, we get in with everybody. Like, we're an association, we're not for profit, we're agnostic, we're brand agnostic. But one of the most wonderful things I saw is that in that room, there's my company, which we cater to welding, regardless of who's involved. ABB is very involved. But then there's Lincoln, there's ITW, Miller, there's Fronius, there's competing robotics companies. There's, all these people in the same room talking together. We're all in it together. It's the industry that we're there to support, and I think that's really refreshing.
It is. Like throughout my career and everything that I've done, there's competition. To hide away from competition would be, really immature. We have competition for a reason. It's to challenge us. It's to develop new software, to push us, and push our boundaries. So, seeing all of the welding companies there, even though they all talk together, they know about each other. It's great because it pushes you, pushes you as a salesperson, pushes you with technology, and even the client, it gives opportunity, right?
Mhm.
So it's good.
Yeah. And the jokes were great. They were like, they're roasting each other. I love seeing that. It's like, oh, well, that's why people buy blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, you guys.
I know. There was some guys like, you should use this welding equipment, like, on another robot, usually not ABB. And I'm like, oh. Excuse me. So it's good. It's good. It's all good.
All right. So let's get to the meat and bones here of yourself, Jennifer. How long have you been with ABB now?
I've been with ABB for 2 years.
2 years. And where were you prior to ABB?
So I was working with Amaral Beltec before ABB.
Okay.
So,
Go ahead.
No, that's it.
So, as like you must live in that area, or like you live far from where the headquarters is for you?
No, I live close. And
did you grow up in this area, or are you native to Ontario?
Yeah, I'm from Toronto. Actually, I'm from Scarborough. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So this is your turf for a long time.
It's my hood. Yeah. It's my place. Yeah.
All right. So growing up in the GTA, as a young girl, did you ever foresee yourself working in the robotics industry, the technical industries? We talked about what you did before when I met you in terms of belting and belting equipment, and that's also very technical, very practical applications. As a young person, did you see yourself heading in that direction early on?
Like when that question when you're really young and like, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? You're like, oh my God, that's a really big question, So you have one life, like, I don't know, So I knew I wanted to get into business. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. So I started off like in school with a few different ideas, completely off where I am today. So I wanted to either be a marine biologist or a cop. So that's where, when they gave me that question, that's what I wanted to be, or who I was thought I would be. And then, I went into like business, right? So then,
which is not marine biology or
no.
So what happened? Which of those two dreams dropped off first?
So, I had a teacher in school that said something to me that kind of that moved me. She said I would never be a marine biologist. So I was really, really young at that time, and it just kind of, I guess, crushed my dreams. So I felt that, So I was like, I guess she said I can't, so I can't. Which is not the attitude to take. Which is a great lesson learned, because now when I look back, it's like, wow, interesting how
mean, That's really mean of that teacher to say that.
Yeah. I don't know what it was about it. Probably because I'm very talkative and I'm very like, blah, blah, blah. So she probably had to like, okay, she could be a lawyer, but yeah. So then I wanted to be a cop because my grandpa was a cop. But then it's just the schooling, where the schooling was going to take. I guess I had my own ROI on myself. Okay, so I'm going to take X amount of school and make X amount of money, so business kind of took over from being a cop. Yeah.
So out of high school, you enroll in business. Which college did you go to?
I went to Centennial College.
And how did you like the business program? Were you like, yeah, this fits, this is what I like?
Yeah, it was. It was good, but I've been working since I was 14 years old, right? So schooling is extremely important, but having the hands-on experience and using what you learn immediately is so important to your career. It's so important to, again, like you said, if I knew in school where I was going to be today and where I was, it's completely different, right? Because right now I'm very technical, working with a lot of engineers and all those things. So it's hands-on experience is so critical. Like I mentor a lot of girls right now out of university and colleges. And that's one of the big things I tell them. They ask me that. They're like, what you went to school for and what you are today, do you regret taking that, or would you have taken something else? And I'm like, no, everything has a foundation to be who you're supposed to be right now. So, yeah.
And then once you got out of college, what was the first job? What was that first gig that you got with your fresh business degree? Because I think you went back and got an MBA, right?
Well, that was the course that I took. Yeah.
Okay,
but I was working already in the industry. So my mom is in the industry. So
I see.
I know.
So what were you doing?
So I worked at EPT Industries. So EPT was a manufacturer's rep. So they handled a lot of different manufacturers. So my mom was working with Marathon Motors. She was like designing motors. She was like the head of Marathon Motors. So I worked there through the summer. So I worked in the warehouse, putting together gearboxes, the shafts, lubrications, all of those things. And then I went into the order desk, I guess you can say. So that's when I was done school. And that's kind of where I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah.
So I just fell in love with the industry. I just fell in love with the customers, the industry. And so that's where my career started. I guess that's, I just want to make my mom proud, right? So I took this on as a challenge, I suppose, not knowing what I was getting myself into.
And how long did you stay there, behind the order desk, looking to climb that ladder?
So I was only there, I think only 2 years. And then a gentleman quit in sales. And I went to the owner and I said, I want to do sales. I can't stay behind the desk because I'm dreaming about Bahamas and just my mind is I can't. So he said, okay, I'll give you this opportunity, but there's no going back. We're going to backfill your position. And if you don't succeed, that's it. Yeah. And I said, don't worry about it. I won't fail. So that was 13 years ago.
Yeah. And sales is a tough gig. I've never been very good at sales, and people say, "Oh, you're so good at talking," but that's not sales. It's sales has got a different angle to it in terms of the close and the sharks in the water mentality that I've generally avoided. So as you entered into the sales world, how did that fit your personality and the way you like to work?
It was perfect for me.
Yeah.
I'm very much a people person. I'm really, care about people and who they are. And, regardless of where they're working, if they're just a mechanic, if they're just an operator, if it's a receptionist or whatever, I love interacting with every single person. So for me, it was natural. I just, you went in, you have genuine conversation, and people feel that they know when you're there to sell and when you're caring. This is what you're supposed to be doing, Mm-hmm. So.
And did you get to the Bahamas?
No. I know. I didn't have enough time to dream. I went into sales and that was it. Life was over.
And then how long were you in the sales gig before that started to lose a little bit of its appeal? Because, what you do now is sort of sales, but not really, No.
I mean, right now I'm a manager, right? So yeah. You're not hands-on anymore. You're not with the client as much. I have my team, right, that works for me. So it's 22 people that work for me. So they're now my client, right? And my business is now my client. So it's extremely different. I miss it. Yeah, I miss it. I really love sales. I really did. Yeah.
And how long did you do sales there at that same company?
So I was there for, so it was about 3 years after the transition. And then there's a moment, so they're a manufacturer's rep. So again, going back to being a woman and starting in this industry, I felt that you're very limited on what you want to do and who you want to become. So having more hands-on experience and really understanding the industry, because I was only selling certain products. You know, I wanted to go into distribution or pivot myself to make sure that I could have more hands-on experience and understand the factory from the beginning until the end. So then I went into industrial automation, like distribution, where you're selling nuts and bolts and motors and drives and everything. You're putting it back together. You're finding out what happened. So it was really a great experience because I really got to understand the industry and the components. So.
And then after those 3 years, what happened? Did you slide to another company? Did you? Yeah. What'd you do?
Yeah. So I went into, I started to work into the industrial automation space. Okay. And then I started in like distribution. So I stayed in the distribution for many, many years until, you know, I guess that wore off, because the industry has different levels. You know, you have the manufacturer, you have the manufacturer's rep, and then you have like distribution channels. So distribution is really great because you're handling everybody's line. You're handling ABB, you're handling, you know, anything you can think of, from small little nuts and bolts to. No, you have 3,000 products that you're representing, right? It's like, what's the flavor of the week?
Yeah. Now, in that pathway, you know, you're entering in the floor. You had an in because of your mom, which that helps, right? And then you worked your way through sales, into distribution, then out into another, you know, company on your own.
Yeah.
Through this journey, how aware were you that you were a female doing this? Or did you just feel like you're just another employee just climbing the ladder like everybody else? Or were you distinctly aware, or even certain moments where you're like, yeah, that was harder than it needed to be. That was not necessary, or something like that?
I knew I was a woman in the industry day one.
Yeah.
Day one. You know, I was challenged day one. You know, every customer you went to, any factory that you went to, whether they were new or you know, met different people within the company, you knew, because they would almost interview you before anything, right? So for me, it was really important to be very technical. It was really important for me to be respected, and for them to know that once we finished the interview, once they could trust me, they knew I would take care of them. They knew that I would keep their plant up and running no matter what, regardless if I'm a woman or I'm a man. So it was difficult. It was really difficult in the beginning. I'll be honest with you. You know, it was not what I expected. I thought I would come in more like a normal employee, but no, it wasn't. It wasn't like that. It was really difficult.
And in your travels, you know, because you have extensive experience, have you come across female-owned companies that you've worked with? And was that still a barrier, even with, you know, being on a female-to-female relationship? Or, you know, what I'm trying to separate is the patriarchy, that ugliness, just inherent in the business, or is it inherent in the people, you know?
So when I started in the industry, I was young, right? I was really young for doing what I was doing, I guess you could say. So depending on the woman that were already in the industry, and I get it, I get where they're coming from. They've been through what I've been through, right? So the industry can change you. It can make you really rough, or you stick to who you are. You know, you change who you are, or you stay who you are, meaning you walk different, you talk different, you dress different, you try to fit in, you know, just to fit in and not deal with the BS, right? So yeah, I guess I was very different because I stuck to who I was in regards to dressing the way I dress, or, being loud, being funny, my hair, my nails, my whatever, being still very female, I guess you could say, right? So sometimes it could have challenges, but more or less, I didn't come across any female-owned companies. They were either male-owned and they worked for them, but again, more or less, once they knew you knew what you were talking about, it actually had a better relationship, I'll be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I would feel that there's a sort of camaraderie there, like, for example, I'm from South America. I'm from Chile. Last year, I've been working with Hypertherm on some level or another for decades. I was in FabTech in 2019, and I ran into the CEO or head of something at Hypertherm then. He's moved on now, but he was from Chile, right? And so there's an instant camaraderie there. I don't really know him. He doesn't really know me, but hey, we're both from Chile. That immediately gives us like something in common that's outside of the norm. That it makes it easier to build a relationship. And I'd imagine that in this industry where females are represented less than 4% in welding, which is brutal, crazy, right? But when that 4% runs into each other, I sure hope that they're like, yeah, we got this. We're the community. Let's support each other, right?
I mean, now that I'm able to connect with women and work with women on a completely different level, like I'm not a junior, I guess you can say, or I've been senior. I've been doing this a long time, and with my position now, I encourage this even more than ever, because again, I have so many examples. I mean, oh my God, we could talk for 17 hours, but I've had situations where women were completely against me. They would do anything to make sure I either quit or failed or I got fired or something like that. What is the context underneath that? I don't know. I don't think I'll ever know, right? But now I encourage that we talk, that we connect, that we don't see each other as competition.
Yeah.
I want to see more of you. I want to see all of us succeed. I don't want any of us to leave this organization because they felt, not respected. They felt like a minority, you know what I mean? And just kind of didn't want to deal with the BS and just left. I don't want to see that anymore. So I think the increase, especially in women in welding, especially in engineering or manufacturing, I hired my first field service technician. And she starts on Monday, and I'm super excited about that. She's going to be the first one in Canada for ABB Robotics. So it's like, it's empowering, and I think now more than ever, we empower each other. Now more than ever, for sure. Yeah,
I think in the past, because I've heard that comment lots from different women that I've interviewed over the years, that, sometimes there's even like a female on female hate, on the work site. And I think that that's nothing personal. I think what happened is that society put so much pressure on that 4%, saying like, this is the only piece of pie you get. This is it. This is your piece of pie. And there's not enough room for all of you, so you better, fight over your piece of that pie.
Right.
Whereas now we know that, no, just take more of the pie. just take more. That 4% is not yours. Take half the damn pie. Take it all. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that conversation is shifting, where it's like, me coming in as a female is not going to take away from you as a female. Let's just stake out more of our territory and run with it, right?
Now that we get to talk more and be open, and I think now that there's more opportunity for diversity in a workplace, this is helping that. This is helping us work together more. Where, as much as females feel intimidated, men do too.
Absolutely. And immigrants and newcomers and people that don't speak good English and people with disabilities. Everyone has, self-conscious issues that attack them at the workplace. That silent detractor, or what's the word I'm looking for that they always say? The self-saboteur.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Once you remove those barriers, it's fine. Once you stop thinking that everyone's talking about you and nobody is, just do you, be you, be great. And people are going to see and people are going to notice, regardless if you're male or female, regardless if you're a new immigrant or your English isn't great. I mean, it's interesting. At the show, we were talking about my team specifically. We're so diverse with so many aspects, whether it's, culture, immigration, women, men, young, old. Like, our team is so diverse in ABB Robotic Service. It's amazing. It's so amazing.
Although I will crack a joke right now and say that I saw a lot of bald heads in there. And that one's at you, Eric. If you're listening, that one's at you. Eric and Nick and
yeah, Andy. Oh my
Andy,
God.
yeah, all the guys there. So
yeah.
Jokes aside, you are, that is something that I noticed, and it came up in my presentation about how in the future we don't have the time or space to be picky like that. It's a useless thing to think about. Like, we just need people. People are people. Let's get them.
Yeah. And it's good. I mean, again, I think you and I were talking about this, how COVID has changed our industry. It's changed, the people we're looking for, what we're looking for, how we go about doing our business, right? Like, remote, back in the day before COVID, this wasn't happening. We were together, meeting together, remote support was like not an option. You had to be there in front of the customer, which allows us to tap into a different type of resource. You're going to get a lot of younger people. You, Max, specifically, are exposing our industry not as this dreadful, not pretty thing to this is cool. We have fun. This is awesome. And I always tell young people, that show, How Things Are Made, that's what we do every single day.
Yeah.
Like, it's really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah.
Like, I saw a few years ago how lollipops are made. And I went in, the guy was broken down, and he's like, I need this, that, and the other. I'm like, hold on a sec. I got to see how you make these. It's so cool, Yeah. So it's so fun,
Yeah. All right. Well, this is the perfect time to take a break for our sponsors. And what we're going to do is, when we get back after the commercials, we're going to talk about what you do now specifically, break down your role and what it is you do, and where you want to go in terms of your career and also in terms of the female empowerment side. So stay tuned, everyone. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back here with Jennifer after a short couple of words from our sponsors, and stay tuned on the CWB Association podcast.
The CWB Association is new and improved and focused on you. We offer a free membership with lots of benefits to anyone interested in joining an association that is passionate about welding. We are committed to educating, informing, and connecting our workforce. Gain access to your free digital publication of the Weld magazine, free online training, conferences, and lots of giveaways. Reach out to your local CWB Association chapter today to connect with other welding professionals and share welding as a trade in your community. Build your career, stay informed, and support the Canadian welding industry. Join today and learn more at cwbassociation.org.
And we're back on the CWB Association podcast. My name is Max Ceron. Thank you for staying with us during our show. We're having a great conversation here with Jennifer Almeida from ABB Robotics Canada. And Almeida, last name, is that yours, or is it or is that a married name?
It's a married name. Can you guess what my actual one is?
I don't know, because maybe something Irishy, Scottishy. I don't know.
Hey, yeah, McNeil.
There we go. See, I was close. I was close. You had a little bit of a ginger appeal to you there.
Yeah, actually, my brother is my brother and my dad are full redheads, like red.
I'm good at this.
Fire. When I was little, my hair was red, and then it turned into like dirty blonde. So,
and Almeida, that's
Irish.
Like Spanish or Portuguese or something.
Brazilian.
Okay. So yeah, Portuguese.
Yeah, my husband's Brazilian. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I just had to ask. I'm like,
they speak Portuguese with me, and then like my client, I'm like, whoa, Oh, hold on. I'm McNeil. Ah, okay. I was wondering why you don't look Brazilian. I'm like, no. No.
All right, Jennifer. So, we talked about the way up, which for women is always just a little tougher or a lot tougher, but it's a different angle. So, but you got there. You have a great job, and for a great company. Tell the people, what does business unit manager for ABB Robotics Canada do? What's part of your job now?
So I run the service division for ABB Robotics Canada. So regardless of the robot, so when you invest in an ABB robot, you invest in a system, that's a big cost. And a lot of people that want to invest in ABB or invest in that type of capital want to make sure that after the fact, they're taken care of. That the company that they invested in, that company is going to still take care of them. And that's what I do. I make sure that, the client is happy. We have not just a 1-year relationship. It's, 2, 3, 5, 10 years. And that when that robot is out of life, they continue to choose ABB. And that's what my team does. That's what we do. We keep them up and running. Keep their robots healthy and happy, and we create a partnership and a relationship with the client.
When you say out of life, like I think of Wall-E, Wall-E got left behind, and 300 years later, Wall-E's still chugging along and working.
Yeah.
Don't robots last forever? Like, what's the myth here that you build it, it's just going to be good forever? What does end of life mean in robot world?
So again, depending on your robot, like we have 3 different sizes, we have, all those aspects in robotics, but it, again, there is that myth, right? That let's say, a certain robot, a certain series are going to have X amount of hours that they're allowed to run. Some run way past it. They never break down. Mm-hmm. They're amazing. But, the rule of thumb is, sometimes it's not necessarily the robot that's broken, but maybe the client wants to change their manufacturing process. So they need a different robot, or, it's not, we have different stages of robot, right? Let's say we have S4C, S4C plus going into IRC5, and now we have OmniCore. So sometimes you just want to stay up to date with all the changes of the robots. So this is one aspect of what we do. So we would then change the robot to a new robot. So that's what I mean by end of life. We don't get rid of it. You and I had this conversation, right? We don't get rid of it. We just buy it back, or we give a credit, or we put in a new robot in its place, and then we keep that robot, which comes to sustainability as well, right? To not, get rid of a robot and then just put in a new one, and that one goes to the dumpster, or so on and so forth. So ABB is really big on sustainability, and you're a perfect example, Max. Like you and I had this conversation that when we buy back a robot, or that robot is end of life for could be so many different reasons, that, that's an opportunity for a school.
Yeah. A training center, a school, or whatever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. And some of them don't even care if it's working. They just want it stripped apart so that their, young students can see what the robot looks like inside. What are the accessories? What does it look like, right?
Yeah, awareness is a big deal, like even just seeing what it is, right? Or the size of some of them can be like, wow, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And now, when you look at this progression of robots, like I've worked for large manufacturing companies, and once they drink the juice, they're in. You know what I mean? So they'll buy the robots because they're the latest thing, and they'll set it all up, and immediately they start seeing that return on investment. There's always the hiccups of the fixtures, the parts, how they're cut, how they're processed, because the robot needs a lot of things to be in line for the robot to do its job well. It's not usually the robot's fault if something goes wrong. It's usually something else's fault that was out of line. But as you figure it out, then you hit that sweet spot where you're like, everything's running well. By then, it's 2 years down the line. Some new tech has come out. And these companies that are pro technology immediately are like, well, this is working great now. Now what? What's the
Right.
next one, right?
Right. We have a lot of partnerships like integrators that we work with. ABB can do it at a small scope, but we have integrators that help clients go to that next process. Or, our team will help either advance it, so increase speed, increase productivity, increase ROI, that still keeps them intrigued. Or, some of our partners are, would help with a new line, would integrate both lines. Because most clients, they're going to start with a small project. Either they never had robotics, they're just getting into robotics, so they want to start something small. Or there's that, they have a problem internally with wrapping their head around people, robotics, how do we merge them together? Some could be unionized, where there's a lot of politics behind it. People get nervous, right? And it's interesting. I had this conversation with one of my mentors about that perception of robotics, that it's taking people's jobs away. And it's not doing that. It's actually increasing the job market, because I was having this conversation. I'm like, there's some jobs where, a young guy out of school, again, me back dreaming about Bahamas kind of thing, right? They go and they're picking up a pen and they're like, and then they're dreaming about like Bahamas, or dreaming. That's a job for robotics, right? Because we need those young, really smart people doing other things.
Yeah, they could be useful somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I think about some of the jobs like porta potty cleaner. Nobody wants to be a porta potty cleaner. That is a robot job. Please make the robot that's attached to the back of the truck that just picks up the porta potty, cleans it out, puts all the stuff into the whatever. I don't know where the porta potty juice goes. I don't want to know where the porta potty juice goes, but that sounds like a robot job to me.
Yeah, exactly.
I even said to someone over drinks the other day, like, what about robot tattoos? Like, it's just like, brrr, it'd be like perfect every time.
No, that would be so cool. No, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Okay, I want 10%.
Yeah.
Because you're smarter than me, you can make this happen. I want 10%. Yeah.
Yeah. I got a patent.
And everyone that's listening to this, 10%. You guys all heard it. But I was looking at what the sensors can do with the CMT, where it'll come down and actually check the actual, it'll be able to ride the contour of anything. Now, in my brain, I was like, that would tattoo perfectly. It would be the perfect depth every time.
Yeah, right? Which is huge. I mean, how many people go, okay, I want this tattoo to look like this, and then they walk out and it looks like this. Like, we would have accuracy rates of,
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I like that, Max. I think we're onto something here. You and I, we have a lot of ideas.
Yeah, we were idea people.
I might have to leave and do something else.
In the Bahamas.
In the Bahamas. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, perfect. Now, you've brought up mentors a couple times, both in terms of you mentoring and the people that mentored you. So let's start on the top end of that, because I very much believe in mentorship. I had two very key mentors in my life that basically took a dumb kid and put me on the path to put me where I am today. And I am, to this day, very grateful to them. One of them unfortunately passed away because of cancer, but the other one, he's in his 60s, coming up on 70s, and I still buy him free tickets to anything that's local and say, on me, buddy, because I would not have this job even if it wasn't for him. Now, who were the mentors in your life? And shout out to them. It's all good. Like, who are a couple, or, the ones that really stood out to make your life, your career path better, and why?
Max, like you said, I've had a lot of mentors. Like, they weren't always subject to one my whole career. It wasn't, I've had mentors for either certain industries, certain times. So again, I've had probably, 6 or 7 solid mentors that, like you said, took me and molded me and helped me and guided me. And, some of them help me to deal with conflict, help me to deal with becoming a sales professional and, not getting so wound up. Some of them were helping me with my emotions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like controlling my emotions, controlling the outcome of stressful situations with a customer and personally and with a workplace. I had some mentors help me with my personal work-life balance. Again, I'm a mom, I have 2 babies, and how do you become a woman in this industry, especially a male-dominated industry, and being, challenging, like juggling that work-life balance, right? So I've had a lot, and I am so grateful to my mentors. I still talk to them to today. They still catch up, with me on LinkedIn, seeing what I'm doing. So I've had so many. I don't think I could call out just one, because so many people have touched my life. And like you said, Max, I wouldn't be who I am or where I am today without them.
And then on the flip side, you mentoring others, is this a conscious, deliberate act, or do you find yourself, mama hen, pulling someone under your wing? I always did that with my students when I was a teacher. I'd call them my little chickies. I'm like, get under my wings, my little chickies. I'll take you to the land of success. Like I'll keep the rain and the haters off of you until you're ready to come out on your own, right? And it's funny because they're all, usually big burly people, and they're like, but they're my little chickies.
You don't fit.
yeah, but it's funny because now I run into them 10 years later, and they're still like, this little chickie's grown up, and I'm like, aw, like,
yeah.
Now for you, with how you mentor, or who you mentor, how do you approach that?
So I've mentored, young men, that are in the industry, but specifically and recently I've taken on, being a female mentor for women in industry specifically, because I never had a female mentor, and I would have loved that, because there would have been a lot of things they could have taught me, maybe help me, or maybe I would have been more honest. I would have been more open, to talk about stressful situations that I was in, or my brinks of breaking that I wouldn't have told anybody else, and that's what a mentor is. A mentor is someone you can call, you can text, and you can just talk and be open about it. And again, because I've had so many great, honest mentors, that, you need someone who's going to be honest with you. They're going to tell you the real, but they're going to help you too. Like if you give them a resume to look at, if you set up a meeting and they had a really bad interview, you're not going to fluff it. You want to know what happened. Okay, what did they say? What did you say? How did you feel? Okay, what does your resume look like? Okay, but that doesn't look like you. So, that you're going to put that on paper, but then when you go on a video, you got to showcase that. That's got to be one and the same. So I really take it upon myself to give women the realization of what they're either getting themselves into, what it's going to really be like. But you know what? I'm going to be there to help you. Here's my cell phone number. Call me anytime, message me, Teams me, whatever you want. Email me. We'll do this together. I'll help you.
And do you, or are you a part of any of groups online on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram? I just interviewed someone last night who runs the Women on Site Instagram page, and it's a open mentorship group for women on Instagram, and do you follow any of that stuff, or is it kind of more who pops into your world kind of thing?
So ABB has been amazing because they take on a lot of these projects, right? So a lot of them that I've gotten into recently have been through ABB. We have the diversity program, which is having a diverse workplace. Could be men, women, age, so on and so forth. And then we have the discovery program, which is a lot of people coming out of colleges with ABB. That's run out of our Montreal campus here in Canada, but we have them all around the world with ABB. And then they partnership with schools. So some schools will be like, hey, it would be really cool to have some, females working with ABB that could mentor our students, whether that's engineering, HR, robotics, so on and so forth, right? So a lot I've got into with that, but I do follow a lot of groups on LinkedIn where a lot of people reach out to me there as well. I talk with them. But what I've noticed is, you talk like this, we have conversations, and maybe, there's 100 people who look at this and maybe 4 you've touched, but, those 4, do they reach out to you? Do they ask you to be a mentor? Is there that fear of asking somebody that you look up to be your mentor? That's the problem. I don't think they're reaching out and asking.
Yeah, and you're probably right, because I know when I look at the people who became mentors to me, it was more like I was forced into their world, either through work or through whatever. And I was lucky enough that they ended up being my boss or my coworker, and I'd be like, awesome. But it wasn't like I was out with a sign being like, mentor needed, apply within. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And why not?
Yeah, why not? Like, I know there's things happening. Like right now in Canada, there's a program called ApprenticeSearch.com. Apprentice Search is like an app people can download for free. It's funded by the government, where it helps you find mentors. So if you're a welding student in the middle of nowhere and there's not a journey person, you can go onto the app and it'll help you find the closest journey person to you and even connect you online. Like we talked about, the technology is affecting things, but people don't know about these things. So heads up, people listening, ApprenticeSearch.com. This is a government-funded initiative that helps people find mentors. Also, another program that I'm a part of is called the Futurepreneur Canada. Google it. It's for business owners like myself to help mentor other people that are getting into their first business, to say some of the pitfalls to watch out for, some of the things to look for. Just, I'm not running your business for you, but if you got a question, you can reach out to me, right?
Yeah.
And I've been through the program now 2 years, and I've helped people, and it's wonderful. Like when I started my first business, it was a complete disaster. I had no idea. I was just like, I can build stuff. And I had, aside from that, that's like this much of a business plan. Like there's so much more involved.
Yeah. It's funny you talk about business plans. You make business plans, like, like you're saying, like you start like this, even if you make those big fluffy business plans and you think it's going to be like this and go like that, it's never the way it is. Right. So, that having a mentor is when it comes, when those tough times come, when you don't know, you have them to talk to.
Yeah. And even if it goes to right.
Yeah. It happens quickly.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like one of the people I was teamed up with for mentoring, they had something fall through on them, and they were like, "Maybe I'm not cut out for this." It's like, no. Having things fall through, this downtime, like get the tears out, go ahead, go feel sorry for yourself, give yourself a night. Tomorrow, wake up, and you put that in the "I'm done with this" box, because this is business. This is business. Yeah. Don't take it personal.
You know what I find interesting when I talk to, like, especially younger people, like the work-life balance, like how they decompress. What do they do for fun? It's like you have that business person and then you have that real life person. And it's great when you have a mentor, because you get to see like who they really are and what they do for fun, and the realization of like, you're human, and you can have that, like you and I were talking, right? Like, who you are outside of what you do. So it's kind of cool. Like you're a drummer.
Guitarist.
Guitarist.
Did
you play drums though?
No.
Never?
I am a terrible drummer.
Really?
And for all the people that have seen me play drums, I'm sorry. I have hurt you somehow.
Somehow. But usually when you're in a band, you play all instruments, no?
No. Usually people have their shtick. But I mean, there are geniuses. My daughter's one of them. Could play 100 instruments, but I'm not one of them. I'm a guitarist, and I would say I'm not even that great. I'm passable. That's not. I'm a better welder than I am a guitarist. I'll say that.
I hope so.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. That's so awesome.
So as we, get towards the end of the interview, there's a couple of things I wanted to cover. First of all, and it was a topic that came up all week, and we talked about is education. Like, what are some of these gaps that you see from the ABB Robotics perspective in terms of what is society not understanding about your industry? What are those gaps in education that you really wish would be more clear to people?
ABB is very invested in education. We're very invested in robotics is the future, right? But robotics is one of the things that, again, it used to have a very scary perception. And now it's transitioning to being a lot of fun. It's so diversified in regards to you could be an engineer, you can be a salesperson, you could be a mechanic, you can be a teacher, you can be an executive or a boss like me. Like, it doesn't have to be one specific thing. It can be so many different things in robotics, right? And it's fun. It's a lot of fun. So now with the collaborative robot, which you saw, especially even welding, right? Even robots welding, scary, like, how do you control it? How can it, turn really messy really quickly? I mean, anything can, but it's just taking those limitations that people used to think about robotics and making it friendly, making it pretty, if you want to call it. So especially we have an education package that we sell. So that's straight up. It comes with a full cell, you saw it, Max. And then you have like the collaborative welding cart. We sell it as a package. And we have a few labs, a few colleges that have ABB Robotics. They're certified and they do the trainings on our behalf. So it's just getting them hands-on, getting the experience, having us, you and me and the people that work in robotics, going out there, having us speak, having us talk to the students. It's key. It's key to our future, Max. Like, you and I, we talked about this. Like, education in robotics, welding, in the industrial space is key to the success of our future, right? For in all aspects.
And from my opinion, we're not getting in there young enough. Like, we're waiting till kids are in high school to just get a taste of what these industries are. And I feel like we need to be in there sooner.
True.
I think that like grade 5, grade 6,
Right.
10, 11-year-olds, they should be seeing a robot. They should be seeing what welding is. They should be able to come home from school being like, hey, look, Mom, I did this thing today at school. It was amazing, and the parents being like, oh, you don't want to do that for a living. And the kids being like, well, why not?
Yeah.
The lady, she showed up in a brand new Jaguar and she seems to be pretty happy. That seems like a pretty good gig, and I think those are good things, like the glamorizing, the openness, and
Right.
and sharing the success, like not being shy. Everyone looks at doctors and goes, oh, that doctor, look at them with their fancy house and their fancy cars. I know just as many welders with fancy houses and fancy cars.
Right?
So like, why are we not talking about that?
Yes, you're right. I remember when I first started in the industry, your car had to be a certain way, don't show off too much because that means your product was too expensive and you were robbing the customer and it's like, but you're not, I mean, everything's transparent. They know the cost because, again, going back to competition, it levels the marketplace, right? So, but let it be pretty. Like, if you got a nice car, you got a nice house, or, you have nice things. Well, yeah, the industry can give you all of those things. It's not this, you're right. It just has this look to it, you're never going to be like a doctor. You're just going to be a welder.
Not? We're like, it's always the joke for welders. We get tested more than any doctor does. Imagine if a doctor had to pass a medical exam every 2 years. They don't. Welders have to, every 2 years, we have to retest. Like, I mean, how is that fair? Well,
Right.
give us some glamour, give us some space out there. Where's the TV shows? Where's the movies? Where's the stuff? Like it's not a thing that's out there. I think it's getting better,
I do.
But it's we got a long way to go.
I think these things are what's helping. Talking about it, talking more about it, having different types of people on your podcast, right? And having completely different conversations from one person to the next is going to give. And I hope a lot of people follow you and follow your podcast, Max, because you're doing an amazing thing. This is so amazing. It's going to really touch a lot of different types of people. And this is what we need to do. We haven't been successful at it. And I think, again, since COVID, it's going to help us. It's going to help our industry really shine and recruit young talent. My son all the time, his friends will come, what does your mom do? Does she stay home and he's like, no, she sells robots. And they're like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Like the ones that walk around? And I'm like, soon. But, I brought actually a collaborative robot home once. And I had my son, I have pictures of it. I had him playing with it and programming it. And his mind is so different since then, he was hugging it, it was like, you're right. It needs to be at a young age.
And like I said that, imagine if you grew up with the robot in your house, then it's normal. If you saw one when you're a kid, it's normal. It's not like a weird thing. It's real, and just like every other trade that we introduce to our kids, the fire truck rips down the street with the lights on. Wow. That's why kids want to be firemen, right?
Yeah.
Because they see this thing go by and ambulances and your kid goes to the doctor. Wow, the doctor has all this cool stuff and they make good money. And you see it. When do they see the welder? When do they see the robot? It's all in these back rooms, building the things that we need without any exposure, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, I encourage if anyone's watching this podcast or any school, if they want me to come out and come talk, either it's me or it's someone in my team. We do it all the time. I had one of my field service technicians go to Sheridan College, for example, and he was actually on he was a judge and he was judging what everyone made. So we do it all the time. We just want to take away that ugliness and make it friendly and positive and fun. So.
Well, on that note, let's wrap up the interview and tell people how to get a hold of you, how to get a hold of any programs at ABB. Well, what are some of the touch points?
Yeah. So again, ABB.com, go into the robotics field. You can always check me out on LinkedIn, Jennifer Almeida. I'm there. I have a lot of information. I'm very open and on my messages. So reach out to me, message me. ABB's website can be a lot. There's a lot on there. If you need help guiding through where to look or, what you're interested in, by all means, reach out to me. We also have a career portal at ABB on our website. You can check out all of the careers that we have open amongst all our divisions. If you choose ABB, it's an amazing opportunity. It's a great culture. It's a great company. They take care of you. They're invested in your growth from when you get out of college to, me right now. So you won't regret it. That's for sure.
And for the last piece of information or insight from you, what would you give as a piece of advice to women out there that are looking to get into the automation field?
Do it. Do it. Do it.
Get on it.
Do it. I wouldn't do anything else. If I were to go back and had the opportunity to be the cop or had the opportunity, I would still do what I'm doing today. I absolutely love it. It's challenging and rewarding, and there's so much opportunity for you to grow. And being a woman and being successful and being technical and staying true to yourself, you're going to have a huge opportunity in this industry. Just do it.
Awesome.
And let's stick together.
Yeah, like you got it. Right?
Yeah.
Well, Jennifer, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to have this interview today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Max. I appreciate it.
All right, and for all the people that have been following, check out ABB, check out Jennifer on LinkedIn. You know, we're out there. We're all working for the same goals. I'm already working with this team to try to get some stuff rolling out in the next while. As soon as I meet new people, the ideas start churning. So there's going to be some collaborations coming out within the next year for sure. So I really appreciate ABB for inviting me out. And please keep downloading the podcasts, keep watching them, sharing them, liking them. Remember, we also are on YouTube, and there's information there. And again, thank you to our sponsors and for all the people that support us. So stay tuned, and I'll catch you at the next one.
We hope you enjoy the show.